Collaborative is the largest online community platform for any activists and other professionals who work on issues related to human trafficking, forced labor, and any other types of exploitation and abuse. So if you're not a member yet, you should join. We currently have about a bit over 5,500 members from 112 countries. 85% work for civil society organizations, such as yourself, and the rest of the membership are anyone from, academics, funders, and increasingly business and human rights professionals. What we do at Freedom Collaborative, most of our work, well, really all of our work is about information sharing and creating synergies. If you're a member, you will know, because you probably know our newsletter, which goes out every Tuesday, and it's become our flagship product. It's very, very well known. Everybody talks to me about it. What we're trying to provide is some kind of industry news. So if you sign up, it's a really convenient way to stay up to date as a professional in the sector on what are trends and developments, important events, and opportunities that you can take part of. We also do quite a lot of data collection, as the Indonesian organizations know, because we worked with them, and really a lot of other activities that are around partnerships and creating opportunities for exchange. I'm being told to slow down a little bit. I'm very happy to be joined today by my amazing and inspiring friends and colleagues, Anu, Kamal, Lucy, and Mina. I truly mean it when I say that they are inspiring, and I hope you will agree with me once you hear more about their work during this panel discussion. In addition to all the work they're doing for their own organizations, they're also part of the Freedom Collaborative advisory community. So the advisory community is a group that I started about 2 years ago, and it really came from a personal realization that the peers and colleagues I got to know when I started working on Freedom Collaborative 7 years ago, most of them are actually not working in the anti-trafficking sector anymore. They've moved on to work for the private sector, do other work. And I believe that one of the reasons that is that there are very little opportunities for professional development for young talent within this field. So we started the advisory community to kind of at least partially address this gap and provide some kind of leadership training and also opportunity to connect with other young professionals that are doing similar work. It's currently a group about 50. Everybody's in their mid-careers, everybody has to be under 35, and we provide workshops and opportunities for everyone to get together and discuss. I'm also very fortunate to have this group. Everybody's very professional, very proactive, I will say, also very opinionated, but also very forward-thinking. So they really advise me and also the board of directors of Freedom Collaborative about the issues that they see in their work, and that we should cover, that we should discuss, and that we should work on. So it really makes all the content and all the work that we do as Freedom Collaboratives more progressive, and I think that's the best way to move forward the anti-trafficking community overall and to move forward as a sector. So I'm really very grateful to have all of them and also for them to participate here today on this panel. I think a few of the other members are also online, so if you're listening in, this also all extends to you. I'm not going to take up any more speaking time because I'm very keen for you to hear from them, and we'll start with Kamal. Kamal, can you tell us a bit more about the work you're doing in India?
Hello everyone, my name is Kamal. I'm from Chennai, India, and I work for the organization which I founded. It's called Cross Global. And we primarily work on bonded labor issue, the forced labor issue back home. And when we wanted to work against trafficking back home, so we were doing some study on how prevalent the bonded labor is, or how prevalent the human trafficking back home. And then we understand that the bonded labor is more prevalent and the least addressed issue, which was happening back home. And then we wanted to go to the roots of where the bonded labor system came into place in our country. And so if we talk about bonded labor, I think we need to talk about the caste system back home. So which is like racism, narcissism, so something similar to that. The caste system has 6 different categories. Starts with OC, FC, which is forward community other communities to the Dalits who are SC and ST. So there are 6 different categories. And then if you look at who are the victims of the bonded labor system, is usually the Dalits, SC and the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribal people are the 99% of the victims of human trafficking or any kind of slavery back home. And who are the owners? Who owns the rice mill or the bricklins or sugarcane factory? There will be always the privileged community will be owning all these facilities, and these Dalit community will be working for years and years and years and years, like a never-ending debt. And it is so interesting because this caste system in our India has been there for almost 2,000 to 3,000 years. And when it is there for a very, very long time, a community is being pushed to work this kind of a work for a very long time. To change this over a time, it is very hard for us to work on, because it has been community is being involved, the culturally, the mindset of the general public. Okay, you're from this community, you need to work this, because you're born like this, you're born to this community, you're born in this village, so you're supposed to be as a bonded labor. And to change the perspective, it was very hard for us. Then just rescuing them, just rehabilitating them, it wasn't going to make a big difference. So we wanted to address the caste system, and it was very challenging for us. Another reason is very challenging for us is because all the law enforcement, all the people who are in power, they are not Dalits. So when we go and explain to them the need of the issue, is very hard, because they never been as a bonded labor. Their parents never been a bonded labor. They never been experienced bonded labor. So none of them are aware the bonded labor still exists. So it was very hard for us to convince the officials first, and to explain that the caste system has been involved in this bonded labor system. So we need to abolish caste to abolish the bonded labor system. So it was like a whole lot of different approach that we were supposed to take. And it was very interesting for us. And one of the another challenges that we faced is, if we start an organization in India, so we need to wait for 3 years to receive a foreign fund. For an example, so after an organization completes 3 years, we will get a certificate called FCRA, Foreign Currency Regulation Act. So once we get that FCRA, then we can receive the foreign funds. And I think everyone are aware that many organizations were leaving India is because our government is reluctant with that. So I think Freedom Fund is left India, and World Vision, Compassion, because of the FCRA. And so they cancel the FCRA. So if they cancel the FCRA, no foreign money is going to come in for any organization. So Walk Free has left India. So there are so many organizations are leaving India. So when we started, so we need to survive without funds for 3 years. So we can't hire anybody, so because we don't have the funds, and even to locally raise the funds, so we need to wait for another 3 years, because if somebody donates to our organization, we need to give them the tax exemption certificate. So that also we need to wait for 3 years to receive a local corporate fund, to receive any amount that comes to our organization. So our team come up with a creative idea. So we need to survive for 3 years, no matter what. So what we did is, we started to look for volunteers who would be willing to do the job for us. And so when we look for the volunteers, it is so interesting. Right now we have 36 volunteers. Not many of them have social work backgrounds. Not many of them have law backgrounds. Some are civil engineers, some are architects, some are from different backgrounds. So we take them, okay, we just need your time. Don't worry, we will teach you the skill. So we will bring in them for 2 months. We are very grateful for IJM, International Justice Mission, because they are so generous and training our volunteers who have different backgrounds. For 2 months, we train the volunteers on what is bonded labor, what is caste system, what is human trafficking, and then we will place them on the fields. So it has been almost 4.5 years, 5 years. So we still run with the volunteers. We still don't have FCRA. So we still don't have any certificates to receive the foreign funds, but with an amazing idea from our team. So we are completely run by volunteers. No, we don't have any paid staff. So it is so. We are very. I'm personally grateful for my team back home, because with this team we were able to support 938 survivors of bonded labor so far, and which is really amazing. And so one thing, another thing that we really excited about our team is, so since we have people from different backgrounds, different walks of life, not just social workers, not just human trafficking experts, but also different people from different walks of life. So we thought for a very long time, the conversation about the anti-trafficking was kept for a certain group. For an example, only the experts discuss the anti-trafficking work, or the lawyers or the social workers keep discussing in the room. So we wanted to take the conversation to the general public. So to make it as a community problem, to make it as a problem which is affecting every single one, not just the victims, not just the survivors, not just the organization that we work for. So we wanted to make it as a community problem. We wanted to make it as a problem, as an India's problem. So we started to decide to work with the general public, and then we started to go to the colleges where they don't have social work departments, where they don't have a law degree. They're like a general arts and science colleges. So we started to create anti-trafficking clubs, and we started to talk to the commerce students and economic students and physicists, chemists, because you can also be part of the solution, because the trafficking is affecting the economics. The trafficking is affecting all other areas of arts, all other areas of science. So we were able to establish around 28 anti-trafficking clubs in different villages where there is no social work background, where there is no any other thing. So we were able to see some conversation among the general youth. So they started to talk to their parents to do an ethical shopping, and we can see some difference, little differences that we started to see in our city, in our country. So these are some of the things that we were able to do. Even though there were a lot of limitations, our team come up with some creative ideas to sustain for some time. So thank you so much for the listening to me for patiently. Thank you.
Thank you so much to you, Kamal, for sharing all of this. And yeah, I'm so happy for you. I'm really encouraged that you're continuing all this work, and wish you all the best. Anu, you'll also share with us a bit about, your personal background, how you got to do this work, and you're also based in India. So I'm handing the microphone over to you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Anu Karki. I am based in Kolkata, India. But I'm originally from Nepal. That's how I introduce with everyone. So I work at Joya, who believes in sparking a moment of transformation neighborhood in a place of extreme poverty and modern slavery. And we are in a journey to end extreme poverty and human trafficking. And we provide economic employment opportunities who are affected by modern slavery and poverty. And along with that, creating opportunity, economic opportunity, along with that, we have a project called Kolkata to Kathmandu. It's a repatriation project where we are helping Nepali community who are trafficked from Nepal to Sonagachi, which is the largest, Asia's largest red light area, where there are more than 400 households, and nearly 16,000 commercial sex workers are happening there. So in that area, there are huge number of Nepalis who are trafficked there. And I'm from Nepal. When I first found out that there are organizations who are working in Nepal, who are working in anti-trafficking, who are working in India, but there were no any organization that I found for the community, Nepali community in the area. That's why in 2017, first I moved to to Kolkata, and then the second day I hear the stories from the ladies and what they go through, what the challenges they go through, and then from there we started this, and it is a very easy term to say like, okay, it's a repatriation and just helping girls from India to Nepal, and it's it looks, or it's nice to hear, but you know, but for the girls who stay there, the challenges they go through is like they come from they are affected by poverty, lack of educations, and they go to the India, and then the challenges, you know, like every time we try to give services, the service provider in Nepal, they try to give services, but what it is hard for the ladies is the resources that are for them and the need they have within themselves as an individual, it's hard to meet, you know, because I work with, not with a minor, but with 20 plus. I mean, it's like adult women which have their own identity, which have their dreams, which have their achievement, what they want to do for their life, okay? And then, but when they return back to the country, what they see, what they think is like, if we say like, why don't you go to the country? They are like, how can I go and live my life in that place, village where they need to walk 4 hours up to the hill, and then who haven't seen the city and directly brought to India with various reasons, lots of betrayal, many reasons are there how they are brought. But when they are at the place, what we try to do is like, they not only need employment opportunity, but they need more than that, a support to live their life, a support where they can, the woman that, because I work inside, I go inside the brothel, I hear the ladies, you know, what they go through, what they need. So the challenge is when they return, there was an incident, so for the girls, you know, they are trafficked at the age of 12. They come to a new environment, a foreign land, and their whole teenage or their childhood is in the different new foreign land. And then when they are at the age of 40s, 50s, we want to help them to go back. But for them, the scenario of their childhood, new place, and they have a responsibility to take care of family. They have a debt of nearly 1 million, and we are trying to give them a job in Nepal. We have partners in Nepal who are helping in providing employment and accommodation and other services that they need when they go back to their country. But what happens is like, you know, the challenges of salary system, challenges of not being able to understand their need. We kind of like the gap in between is like the service that we provide for the minor girls and the service that the 20 plus women needs are different, right? It's very completely different. So there was a girl who returned back like 3 years back, and for her it is not easy to because what I felt while doing this, we felt while doing this work is they are always, we go to them, we say them like, why don't you leave, and there are opportunities in Kathmandu, you should go and achieve that. For them, one girl told me that dreams and opportunity, for them they were like, it is important to see a dream. Do I have a dream? Because all their life, what they were doing was only helping their families, only because, and one woman told me that they are also scared with the word rescue. You know, I know it's very important, everyone are involved in it, but this is the voice from the field, that's what I'm saying, from the ladies. And when they go back after 10 years, they know they have a life free from exploitation. They can see that after 10 years, my life is good. But in that area where they have a loan of 1 million, they have to pay back, and suddenly when their lives are changed, they still, the chance of returning back to the trade is more. So the solution, what we are trying to do is not just helping them to go back, but so that they can have a life where they can sustain themselves, where they can not only help themselves, but they can help the others. So the girls who return back, she stayed there, our partners helped them, and we try to, they try to provide needs, services that require, like trainings and employment opportunities. But for us, someone who have lots of huge debt, like 1 million, and then they get a salary of salary of like very small amount of salary, which is not helping themselves, and how can they think about the family? It's not only them. So and then that girl told me, like, I'm very scared to dream, because if I dream, then it will not be fulfilled. So instead of seeing and bearing that pain, it's better not to dream. And I was like, we are there saying that we want to help you, there are opportunities in Kathmandu, you will have a good life. But for their understanding, even to have a good life, it is important for them to learn to dream, to learn to make a choice for themselves as well. So there was a gap. So we, even in a field now, we are providing lots of help on services like legal services that they need, documentation, and and also a lot of like a medical support and the vocational opportunities, so that when they leave, beforehand they can prepare themselves, they can develop themselves, they can develop their capacity, and then they can return and they can continue doing that. So that's how we are doing. And the another challenges I want to add during this journey is like, when they return, there was because it was very hard to build within themselves that, oh, finally, yes, I'm going, I will have a life, because everyone wants have a life free from exploitation. No one wants to stay there, okay? No one wants, everyone wants a good life for them. But, and then she got an opportunity, job opportunity, and then she was like, after, I think 10 years, she finally returned, she got a job. It was a full-time job, and she had accommodation where she was able to live because they provided that. And from that full-time job, suddenly after 2-3 months, they told her that now your job will be part-time. And then she was like, to build that trust on her mind, to be able to live a life, it took a lot more years to build that trust, okay? And then suddenly when she went, her office suddenly told it's a part-time. And then she felt so heartbroken that it took me so much of time to, like build that trust to that person, that organization, and suddenly they are saying that it's a part-time. Then what am I going to do about my money? How am I going to support myself, my family? Didi, Didi is a sister, that's the term they say, like, it's better I should go to the life where I left, because anyways, it's the same that I will suffer here, then same betrayal I will suffer here, same the trust will be broken. So it's better I will go the same life, that it's the trust breaking and everything is normal in that area. So it's better to go. And then I thought that we all are working, so I know everyone is working hard, okay? Everyone is working hard in the sector with the hope that we want to help these individuals. And then when that happens, and then what's the motive of helping that person, then when we are not, like, it's very hard to do that. Then I was like, I think, then I started working on the sector to make people understand, to make the organization understand that I know you guys are working in these areas without seeing the life where women are trafficked to. So for example, where I'm working, Sonagachi, lots of organizations in Kathmandu, they are working in anti-trafficking, but I know that many, they have not seen the life where girls are working. They have not seen the pain, they have not seen every day-to-day life. So they create such services without understanding what they go through, understanding anything. So that's why there is a gap that creates a lot more damage than helping, right? And that's and I'm not talking about that only that individual. That individual will say those story to the community, the Sonagachi community, where there are a lot more girls who are waiting to have a life free from exploitation, where they are waiting to go home. Everyone wants to go and connect with the family, right? They want to be in their country. Like, because every time I ask them, when are you going, or if you have any plan to return, they are like, Didi, like, one day I will go. Definitely, I'm not going to stay here forever. I will go. But to that, I will go to, it takes a long time. It's not like, for us, it is easy, and we want a result fast, but it is a work, it takes a long time, and it's a work of a relationship. Maybe it will take 2 months, maybe it will take 10 years or 20 years. We don't know that. But the relationship that we build with the girls, that stays. And it is not easy for that girls to build that trust with us that we have trusted, like organization or us, where we go and talk. So it takes in years and years for that individual to build that trust. And we say we provide services, but if we are not on that, like if we can't provide best services, then we are hurting more than helping. So that's how, and it doesn't affect only that individual, but if it affects the whole community, whole our movement, what we are trying to achieve. So that's where the challenges that we faced, and that's what I wanted to highlight here, that I know we all are in a movement, and I know we are here because we want change. We are here because we want to help out each other. We want to collaborate, and so for that, I think we really need this kind of discussion. We really need this kind of, like, we are helping, but are we doing a right help to that individual instead of hurting and adding the pain? So the cycle of them returning back and not getting a good service and coming back to the trade, and so it has to, it has to have some, it has to stop, though it will take some time, but we have a belief. We are working in a hope that we may have our part to play to stop that, and how we can help these ladies. Yeah, that's what I want to say.
Thank you, Anu. Thank you for making the very brief points. I think you can get a sense why this is called Brief Conversations. Over to you, Lucy. Can you tell us what the Freedom Story does and why the Freedom Story does what it does?
Hi, I'm Lucy. I work for the Freedom Story. We are working in northern Thailand to identify young people and children that are at risk of trafficking and intervene in a holistic way to equip them to overcome their risk. And I'd love to start by saying that I'm a terrible representation of Freedom Story. I represent my 30-plus local colleagues who are watching online. Hi, everyone. So I am so thankful to be here. Thank you, Julia, for the opportunity just to talk about the challenges that we face as a sector. And I'm really excited to be here to have this conversation. I'd love to start by saying that we talk about the challenges that we're facing as a movement in the anti-trafficking sector, but I think it's healthy and necessary sometimes to pause and recognize that we are here because of the 50 million people that are currently living in situations of modern slavery and exploitation. This is not necessarily about us, this is about those people and the people that we're seeking to serve. It's really important, I think, for us to keep the perspective about the purpose that we're here. And it's such an honor for me to be on a panel with people that are working in the front lines of all these different countries. So I'm very thankful for the opportunity. We work in prevention, an area that I think many of us value and feel that is necessary in order to really combat trafficking in a holistic way. It is something that I'm very thrilled to see that more people are talking about and more people are doing in a lot of different ways, especially moving beyond just awareness raising in communities, but really targeting the vulnerabilities that people have and the complex needs that people have. And so it's been really exciting to see more organizations working in prevention. It's been exciting to see more funding opportunities for prevention. It's been something I think that has historically been lacking in anti-trafficking, and so it's really exciting, both from an education perspective and a vulnerability perspective, all the way through to people that are working in freedom businesses, employing people to prevent them from entering exploitational work. So I think that's been a bit of a challenge and perhaps a bit of a win for the movement over the last few years. I think another challenge for us as a movement is around ethical storytelling. It was something that was brought up this morning. The kind of continued reliance on a particular type of narrative in order to kind of, whether it's fundraise or to promote the organization. I think it's important to recognize that anti-trafficking is complex, individual stories are complex, and to try to tell those stories and those narratives in a way that honors the complexity, but is still accessible to people in order to understand. We can't have the burden of complete understanding beyond the general community who's not working in the field, but I think we're still able, and it's still our duty, frankly, to tell stories that are complex and that reflect the reality of the work that we're doing. Any of us who work in anti-trafficking know that narratives are not A to B easy narratives, right? We work with people that are complex. Each of us are complex people. We have complex needs. You go through a day that you feel great, you go through a day that you feel terrible. And I think it's important that we recognize those stories in the way that we communicate about what we do. I also think another challenge for us as a sector is not only building spaces that are welcoming and inviting for diversity, but that actually actively include diverse voices and diverse languages and allow people to show up the way that they are. So not requiring people to show up in a very specific way, but allowing everyone to come to the table and have a voice, have a seat at the table, and championing, more than just championing, really like promoting our local representatives. So working with people that are from the community and allowing those people to be at the table. I feel I really shouldn't be here, but having those people be here representing the work that we're doing, I think is really important. So I'm really thankful as a co-creator of the ARAT experience to be able to have translation, to be able to have accessibility for people in multiple languages. I've been so honored to have so many of our speakers speaking different languages, and I'm just really excited about how we might be able to continue to build that out as a conference. It's been so encouraging to me this year to have speakers from so many different parts of Asia and to have people with such diverse backgrounds. And so I'm really thankful for everyone building that in and making that a reality for all of us. I think those were the main things that I wanted to talk about. Let me just double check my notes. Oh, no, the final thing I wanted to talk about is around meaningful collaboration. I think we have a lot of talk about partnerships and wanting to partner together. Trafficking is not going to be ended by one organization. If one organization had the perfect model, I think we wouldn't need to be here. Trafficking would have been over and we would have all been able to go home and do something else. So I think it's really important to acknowledge that we're only going to be able to fight this issue collaboratively and through really meaningful collaboration, through being able to share the data that we have, obviously in a way that is sensitive and allows for privacy, but to be able to share the learnings, not just the successes, but also the failures that we have had as organizations. There's many things that we've tried as an organization that have not worked. I'd be happy to talk to any of you about those things anytime. And I think it's really important to really be seeking out collaborations and learning from each other. Yesterday in the Thailand working group, it was really wonderful to hear about some of the people that are having great successes in the area of working with businesses and placing folks in business situations. And so it's just really important, I think, to continue to share those learnings and those opportunities for collaboration in a really deep and meaningful way rather than just sort of paying it lip service. So thank you so much, Julia. It was great to be here.
Thank you so much, Lucy. Okay, over to you, Mina. Thank you so much for doing yet another session.
Hi, everyone. Again, I'm Mina Zhang. We are from Humanity Research Consultancy, HRC. And brief conversation. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the challenges we faced or reflections. we are a consultancy, and the reason why I started the business is before that I was an independent consultant. So what I realized is that, for example, twice. Once I was invited to contribute to a study funded by Danish government on Africa's seafood industry and human rights. I'm from Taiwan. The other two consultants, one's from Denmark, the other one's from France. None of us are African. The other research I had was also with ILO and the complaint mechanism in 12 Asian countries. I'm only from Taiwan. I only speak Chinese and English. The rest of the languages, Mongolia, Vietnamese, Cambodian, Bangladesh, I don't understand. How am I going to be able to really understand anything beyond just scratching the surface of English? So I realized, at least on the kind of research side or consultancy side, a lot of time that the setup of the team don't necessarily include local consultants. They may have translators, but not local people who can actually speak a language. And that creates two problems. One is that the information gathered may be very limited when you cannot actually use the local language. Even with translation, is always a gap. The other kind of problem is that consultants and researchers are paid. These are job opportunities. But if it's only shared by certain communities, but local people are not being able to share that pie, that's really, in my view, a problematic thing. Of course, there's lots of reasons why it's becoming like this, because sometimes it's just really difficult, for example, for a university or for donor agencies to find any researchers who are local. It's extremely difficult. Sometimes they just don't know where to find those people. Sometimes the qualifications is different. Can you really trust it? Sometimes logistically, how are you going to pay these people if they are in countries that are being suspected to have some troubles, like terrorism connections? So HRC, I founded it to try to conquer this problem, try to really, with our approach, as much as possible, to use local consultants, local researchers. And I still, to this day, got invited to, like people invite me as part of the contributor to their research to talk about, for example, Taiwan's fishing industry. But researchers themselves don't really speak any Taiwanese or Indonesians or Chinese. I still see that. And so we try to be a bit different and innovative. And initially, I was also a bit, I guess, naive. I thought, if I can provide that kind of a training, I can turn somebody, for example, having a bachelor degree, or even not even a bachelor degree, but being able to contribute to the research. But of course, the reason why we have a master degree of 1 or 2 years, or PhD of 3 to 5 years, there's a reason that training takes time. You cannot just simply turn somebody else into a researcher. It just doesn't work, unfortunately. So my initial model also needs a little bit of adjustment. Like, as much as we want to include local people, sometimes you still need to have that kind of mixtures or lots of extra resources to help delivering that piece of work, consultancy work or research work that really speaks for quality. So that's one of the first challenges that I kind of faced, like establishing HRC. The other thing is because I'm really fascinated by the model of a social enterprise. Social enterprise, just really quickly, what it is. So traditionally, we have 3 sectors in the society. One is the government, that with a duty, responsibility to take care of its citizen. The second sector is business. So usually, traditionally, it's maximizing the profit for the shareholder, but sometimes in the process you do harm. So for example, you hurt the environment, you hurt the workers, intentionally or unintentionally. That's the second sector. The third one is NGO, which, you do good, but usually struggle with the funding, struggle with financial sustainability. That's the 3 traditional way. Social enterprise is try to situate in between the second and third, which is you have a business model, but then the goal of the entity is try to achieve a social goal, but then you try to provide that financial sustainability. So I love this idea from my university time, like I've been loving it for like more than 10 years. So of course, I always know in my life I'm going to establish a social enterprise. But of course, when I started that, there are much more challenges that I realized. For example, we are a social enterprise, so we are a business. That means I cannot really have volunteers. It's not going to be very ethical, very suitable. Even when I have interns, then we need to pay that. Like free intern is just going to be, again, problematic unless they really don't have any skill and it's very one-way direction of us giving. Otherwise, when you have an intern that contribute their time, then you're really supposed to pay that, especially we are a business. So there are certain things that ended up being a little bit even harder to navigate. Of course, there are also advantages. But for example, yesterday, of course, I spoke lots of our work in like countering the scamming compound. We just basically see that and react on that. But now it's been kind of more than a year. All our rescues, all our research, majority of it's honestly not funded. It's not by any organizations, which is fine, like, because that's the idea of social enterprise. I want to do my work to fund other more kind of charitable activities. But that means the work I'm delivering, the kind of consultancy and research, I need to have profit. Because if I don't have profit, how am I going to cover my staff time and extra stuff on the other side of more charitable activities? But again, like, try to have profit on doing research, related to trafficking, that's also sometimes very difficult. It depends on who are your customers. So for example, we also serve private sector. Then it's a bit easier to have profit. But for certain type of clients, it's just much harder. So having that balance and having that two mind of wanting to be somebody who cares, activist, but at the same time, I am also the director of my company. I need to take care of my employees. I cannot just be, for example, writing another proposal to a potential funder and saying, we want to increase another 10, employees. I need to maybe accumulate a bit of profit so I can hire extra staff. Like balancing that identity is sometimes slightly harder. And then the third challenge is, being very honest, is that we also really very much trying to implement, the kind of concept and philosophies that we believe. So for example, since the scamming compound started, because we work more directly with survivors, we get to know many of them. We have been, we brought out around 60 to 70 survivors, victims. So we started hiring some survivors. We give them contracts. We try to provide opportunities for them, not just as an advisor or like a director. No, it's as a part of our employees, staff. But it doesn't always work out, unfortunately. I mean, I gave several contracts, starting from small, but hoping that we can continue longer. Sometimes the survivor just kind of gradually disappear and trying to do their own thing, which is great, of course we respect that. Sometimes certain survivor, even the police officer believe this person is a survivor, but then in the process when they came back, they didn't have the kind of a lawyer support, legal aid, and then they're being officially sentenced and judged as a criminal. Then how can I even contract them? Because then will become a problem with due diligence. So, but unfortunately, we still have somebody who really worked out. For example, some of you also know Salam, our survivor empowerment officer. He's working with us. And it's been really amazing to see, these great energies between us. But then again, working together with a survivor, then I'm having multiple roles as well. At the same time, we want to be respectful and protecting and making sure we don't making it difficult for him. At the same time, we want to respect his agency and making sure we don't become kind of parent-child relationship, but really make the survivor being able to speak out for themselves. At the same time, we are employee. So when there's something wrong happens, or for example, there's a mistake, I need to be able to have that honest and direct conversation. So there's several different kind of roles and relationship I need to balance. And that, again, is something that, a constant learning process. So I think that's my sharing, the 3 points. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mina. I think especially your last point, and just sharing honestly, I think this is why I was really excited to have this panel called Brave Conversations. And it's something we're generally trying to do more with Freedom Collaborative. So this is a recorded panel discussion, but generally trying to have more forums to create safe spaces and opportunities for people to have, an honest exchange, talk about failures. Because a lot of the things, right, even the best intentions, survivor leadership is a great example. Even the best intentions, they're not always easy to implement in practice. There's a lot of nuance to do things right, and I think the only way to learn is really having these conversations. And unfortunately, not always, there aren't enough opportunities like that in the sector. I think it's time that we create these opportunities and start sharing more openly with each other. So yeah, I'm very, very happy we had this opportunity on the panel here. And yeah, we'll be doing this more Freedom Collaborative. If you have any ideas, other topics, want to be involved, definitely reach out. For the next round, we don't want to just complain about all the challenges. So we'll go the other way. Mina, you can start. One practical suggestion. We heard a lot about the challenges, but if a recommendation you could give, not to the government or funders or policy makers, but to the community, to our sector, things we should change and think about. Do you have anything you want to share?
Yeah, so I guess so I mentioned 3 kind of challenges or reflection, and I will also provide recommendation based on the 3. The first one, about having locals, then if you are a funder or donor, or university that contracts researchers, I would always suggest that try to make sure the people you contract always have local people, not just translators. I still get potential donors asking me, okay, so how are you going to find your translators? And we're like, no, our researchers speak language and they have experiences. That's the reason why we contract as researchers. We don't just have somebody and then interpreters. We try to not have that model. So that's the first one, I guess, if possible, have a bit of a room. Again, it's not always perfect. Sometimes it's just really difficult to find the people, but at least being intentional in trying that. And the second one, what was the second point? And the second point, yeah, so I guess we are quite unique in terms of we are trying to be a social enterprise, but I do think this can still be a good model, and maybe potentially for people who wanted to start this model, it's a learning process, and I guess it's just nice to maybe be known about that positionality, because we still have people asking us, oh, can we donate to you? Or can we, oh yeah, great NGO, but no, we are not NGO. And that means our operations sometimes have to be slightly different. And that means we may have to accumulate profit, but because the financial sustainability. And so yeah, that's maybe kind of being understood of that positionality and welcoming that space for more and more organizations to happen that way, not just NGOs. And the third one, about directly working with survivor staff, I really want to see more of that. And honestly, I don't know many other organizations that are doing the same. I know a lot of organizations having, as we talked in the last few days, survivor advisors and directors, but not necessarily working directly staff. And I want to see more of that. And I would love to see more of the resources out there. I don't think I have seen lots of those information. And actually recently I was interviewed by some researchers, and they were also saying that we are quite unique in the sense of how we work really with survivors, not as othering, but in our team together, we are growing as a company. But there are not many other examples I know so far, but I would love to learn more, because it feels very new, and yeah, reflecting that multiple roles and how we can grow together, or what other, for example, as I say, I tried to contract several people, but it didn't work out. And what are the kind of criteria, what are the process it should look like? Those are the things I would love to learn together with a larger community together. So yeah, these are some of the, maybe, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So I will also give 3. I think that I've been really encouraged to see a move in funding to trust-based philanthropy models. So building relationships with your donors and with your funders that really encourage an open and honest dialogue, and that allow for trust-based decisions to be made, and that allow for you to be able to use funding in a way that is meaningful for our individual missions. So that's been really encouraging for me. I also think it's easy to always say that problems are with our funders. I think it also means greater transparency on the side of us as practitioners and nonprofits, to be able to have that conversation truly be a two-way conversation. To talk not only about the challenges, but also the decisions that you're making and including your partners in those decisions. I also think it means the continued focus on intentionally creating spaces that welcome and champion diversity. We talk a lot now about the inclusion of people with lived experience and of survivors, and I think there's a danger for that to become tokenistic if we are not really intentional about building spaces that truly welcome and champion diversity. And I think that that means not only in spaces like this, but having not only trauma-informed work, but trauma-informed workplaces. So not only with businesses, but also with the organizations that we run, because you just don't know what each individual person's background is, and it's important to acknowledge the role that trauma has in the work and in the workplace that you have. So ensuring that those places, thank you, ensuring that those that you have trauma-informed workplaces as well as trauma-informed work. So those would be some of my key takeaways.
Hi again. And so two things that I want to recommend or suggest is including the general public in our conversation is very, very important aspect that I would suggest, because there was a particular rescue that happened just right next to the highway. They were bonded laborers. They were selling, I hope you know the dish called Pani Puri. It is a North Indian dish. So 6 of the little boys are selling Pani Puris, and everyone were having Pani Puri with those little child. But none of us knew that those all 6 children were bonded labor victims, because their parents borrowed money from the particular owner and they've been sent as a bonded laborer to work. Those kids are from all the way from Nepal to Chennai to work as a bonded laborer, and they were having customers like 30, 40 customers every single day. So I think that when the general public, when we involve them in the conversation or take the subject, take the fight to them, not to keep the fight between us and to ask them to involve the fight as well, that would be a great help that we can have. That was one of them. And then the second thing that I would suggest is bonded labor is a very complex issue, and it is very prevalent, and also it is very invisible. So we don't know if a bonded labor victim walks by, we don't know, he's just working in a bricklane or he's just working in a rice mill. That's what we know. So I think my second recommendation is I would invite, because you are all experts in anti-trafficking, I would invite, if your organization or if you can support some bonded labor survivors, have one of your offices back home, because there are very handful of organizations working back home and exclusively working against bonded laborers. So we have very handful of organizations. So if you can start up some projects back home in our country, and because I believe there are great minds here, so maybe you can consider this as an invite to come to our country, set up your office, because we need more people, because there were around 12 million bonded laborers in India alone. That was a statement said by a labor minister of India. So we need more hands to work against this crime. Thank you.
Hi. So my 2 suggestions that I would wanted to mention is, one is like we should not forget to think that to whom we are helping, they are an individual who have a uniqueness in themselves. Everyone have their own journey, and we can't think that each one of us same, and the needs that we try to understand of them is same. So when we, I think, work together, we have plans and policies that we have prepared so that we can provide a right help. But in the journey of only achieving what we want to achieve, let's not forget who we are helping, that they have the ability to also think about their life, and they are the one who we are supporting and they are leading, and I think we should not forget that they are a unique personality with unique individual that we are helping. So that's what I want. One of my suggestion is, let's not forget that. And another is like we all are collaborating because we want to help out each other and in this mission. So the collaboration with each other is very important, because one thing I want to share is like, you know, like we all want to help because we want their life to be in a freedom of exploitation, okay? We have that. But I know one story when in, of course, Nepal, because that's where I'm working. So one aftercare home where girls was staying, what we try to do is like a freedom. How is what we do is, there are rules and regulations, like so much of rules and regulation inside aftercare home, that 10 p.m. you have to sleep, you are not allowed to use your phone. So I'm like, my question is like, are we actually helping them to have a life of freedom? Are we doing that? Because the place they come from, you know, like all these years, you know, habits of making their, I know, because they're also, they had been exploited, they didn't had a voice, they were exploited, they were not like everyone there, they were like, it's very hard to make a choice for themselves. And then when they return to their country, when they are like, finally I'm living a life of freedom, and then there also they are inside the, you know, the so much of rules and regulation, and then what's the use of how we are actually providing freedom? Like, are we doing that? You know, it's a kind of a question for us. So we want them to lead their life. We are supporting. So we should be there in their journey as a supporter, where they can achieve what they want to achieve. I know we are providing the services and help, but we have to understand that let's not do a restriction too much, that will trigger them of their journey of like, oh, I'm not allowed to speak. What if I speak? Am I going to the same place, or will they allow to, you know, like allow a place for me to stay? You know, so we have to. I think we have to understand that collaborating together, but also understanding that are we providing actual freedom for them? Yeah.
All right, we have time for questions, so we're gonna open up the floor. Oh yeah, see, hands in the back. Please take this opportunity to get some honest answers.
I wanted to say thank you, Anu, to what you just said, because as a freedom business we find that many of our students that come to us come with so many restrictions and rules that they're stifling. And then they come into our freedom business and they see that other students have freedom, and it creates that chaos. Anyway, so for everybody out there, please take this back. I know we put these rules in place because we think we're creating safety. Sometimes we're creating bondage. Just want to say that. So thank you, Anu. But Kamal, I had a question for you when you were talking about the caste systems in India, and I know that those have been around for centuries and centuries, and one of the things that I'm curious about is the caste system, doesn't that have its origins in religion, and does religion then play a big part in the challenge that the government and your organizations are facing then to remove the caste system as part of the problem?
So yeah, it is, the caste system is mostly influenced by the religion, and it comes from the religion, and the entire system is being involved. So the religion has been now politicalized, so the ideology has been become more what the religion, because who are the most religion that they follow in the particular country becomes the psychology of the entire nation, and whatever the religion says, or whatever it has been practiced for centuries by the particular majority of the population, is being abolished by the law, but not in the social structure or not in the social order. It is still the same. The law says no more caste atrocities. The law says no more the Dalits have to become the bonded labor. But the social order or the social norms, it's still, of course, as you said, it is influenced by the religion, and now it has been politicalized, and it has become a new ideology, and it has been following throughout.
Any other questions?
Thank you very much. Probably my question is more or less similar as the one before, but I was just wondering if you ever encounter any politically sensitive issue, because I believe it is very sensitive in your respective country. And based on my experience in fishery sectors, it is quite challenging because we're not only facing the seafood labor itself, but we also face, let's say, for example, thugs or privatized violence, where there are a lot of cases where social workers or NGO, they have been beaten up or have been harassed by the privatized violence itself. And also we face, and those thugs sometimes affiliated with the government. So somehow it related to the corruption issue, conflict of interest, where the business owner of the seafood industry, they were also part of the government, for instance. And if we do something with them, there might be a lot of troubles. And we, of course, did a lot of risk assessment, but it's still very challenging to navigate that. And also, when we try to connect with the labor union or try to initiate some sort of worker union, there are already worker union itself in one port, for instance, but it was sponsored, let's say, by the business. So if we approach to them, it creates another problem again. So I was just wondering, in this very highly sensitive issue, especially in Indonesia, I don't know, but I believe our political openness is not very open when it comes to create changes and to, to make more freedom. Yeah, I think that's the question. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your question. I think we can all agree that the issue of trafficking is a politically sensitive issue for every country. And I think it's one that is very challenging to work at with the government. I think the successes that we have seen have been through really reinforcing positive partnerships. So not focusing necessarily on the negative and what is the government not doing, but really reinforcing the positive things that the government or local businesses are doing. And also trying to be very creative about the ways in which we work with our stakeholders, whether it's businesses, communities, or the government. So for example, we have a program that works with migrant workers who have come over to Thailand from Burma. We had a very difficult time accessing a lot of groups of migrants because employers told us that there was no problem, no illegal workers, no issues with trafficking or exploitation in the factories, and many of the workers live inside the factories or very close to the factories. So one of the ways that we were able to find a creative workaround was by partnering with the Ministry of Public Health during COVID to be able to provide COVID relief and training on COVID and be able to access the inside of those places. So by going with the Ministry of Public Health, we were able to gain greater access. With many of the communities that we work in Thailand, many people either don't realize that trafficking is still happening or they believe that trafficking is no longer an issue. So, or when there is active trafficking happening in the village, sometimes there is a desire to, act as if the issue is not there, right? So rather than focusing on the negative and what they're not doing, we offer educational scholarships and the opportunity for children to continue in school. So focusing on a positive, exchanging a negative for a positive in order to gain greater buy-in and communicate and access from the community. So I think that that's been a really big win for us. And when working with the government, really focusing on the positive things that we can do together. What are their strengths? What are our strengths? And how can we work together to support vulnerable people? So I don't know if that was a great answer to your question, but those are some of the things that we've done. So I'd love to hear from anyone else on the panel.
I also wanted to say some practical things, and Kamal, maybe you can speak about this. I think what's really important is international cooperation in terms of also international solidarity. And we can see this a lot also with the organizations who work on the Uyghur forced labor. You're not able to operate within the state, but it's really important to have international support. So maybe Kamal, you can also speak about that in the context of India and everybody leaving. And I think a practical one is also there is quite a lot of training and resources for human rights defenders, and that's also something we're offering through Freedom Collaborative more. And I think that's something that it's actually, it's been around for a long time, but I think often in the anti-trafficking community maybe we are not as aware. But this is exactly what we should look at. How to keep your team safe and to be able to continue working as an organization if you're facing actually some risks. Come on.
And so when we closely work with the government, and so we, as I mentioned earlier, the government is also from the privileged individuals. So, but as Lucy was saying, they are very keen to understand what is really happening as well, because they are not aware of what is bonded labor at all. And when we go and have a dialogue with them, for a couple of meetings, it was, you are talking about an ancient practice which has been happening for 2,000 years. That is no more exist in India. That's what the response. And then next time what we did is we brought the survivor with us. And we took the survivor with us to meet the government official. And then we had a conversation with the government official. And the government official was having conversation with the survivor. So, thinking that the survivor was rescued a very long time back. And then the survivor said, no, I was rescued just 2 weeks back, just right from the government building where the labor department is. From there, it's just 9 kilometers away, just a 10 minutes ride. So I was a bonded labor in that particular rice mill, and I was rescued from there. And so he got really moved, actually. So Kamal, and you and your team, can you go around, particularly this district, and give me all the rice mill, how many rice mills are there? How many bricklins are there? How many how many workers are there who are from the Dalit community? How many Dalits are living there? Can you take a census and bring it to me so that I can do a vigilance? I can do a raid on that and see what's happening. So these are some of the positive changes that we started to see when we involve survivors in our conversation. It is not an Asian practice. It is still happening. You can see the survivor which rescued 2 weeks back. So you can hear from herself or you can hear from himself. So we can see a lot of amazing positive changes from the government officials when we take the survivor with us to meet the government officials. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Mina, go ahead.
Just very short. So we also work with in Taiwan, particularly on Indonesian fishermen on Taiwanese fishing vessels. So in the last few years, what we did is also with some other partners, we brought workers together to meet, for example, fisheries agency, and that really kind of creates a lot of changing their mind. So, for example, some of the officials, because in the end, government is constituted by human beings, individuals, so it's about influencing the individuals as well. To a degree, some of the government individuals, they started joining conferences like this. They may not be present in person, but they will be online. They will be like listening to us. And some of those meetings are really like at midnight in Taiwan, but the government officials will stay up until like 1 o'clock midnight just to listen to those conversations, to kind of educate themselves. Recently, one of those government official in Taiwan, he even go as far as like having an ILO training on like being a inspector on fishing vessels. So that's really, really new, honestly. And we were quite appreciative like how they took that step forward. And even yesterday I shared briefly, like in the past, we never heard fisheries agency willing to say this is human trafficking. But now they are like saying, no, this is wrong. This is human trafficking. Maybe we need to do something about it. So that kind of a slow change of mindset, starting from meeting workers directly, really make a huge impact. Also, several months ago, again with other partners, we brought some fishermen from Taiwan all the way to the States, to Boston and to Washington, D.C. It was trying to influence a trade initiative between Taiwan and U.S. So usually when you negotiate the trade initiatives, there may be a labor chapter that really set the labor conditions. So we were trying to put like migrant workers' rights and fishermen's communication rights in their labor chapter. So how we did was bring workers all the way. And again, the same stories. I say it is, and partners say it, it's different from when workers say it directly. It's just totally different. And then the officials in the state, they were also like, oh yeah, suddenly just understand things in a totally different depths. So there was definitely quite difficult and resourceful, like all the arrangements and visas and translations, but it really is very important. I think it also echoes what Lucy said, really intentional on creating the space. Thank you.
Thank you. More questions?
Not the real question, I'm sorry. Just, I'm Kosal from Cambodia, from Haga. Respond to him, I share practical experience, the engagement with the survivor in this high-rank officer, political people, private sectors. In 2022, Haga organized a survivor leadership program, workshop national level. So in this workshop, all organized by survivor, speaker, panel discussion, roundtable discussion, anything organized by our survivors. And then during that time, survivors raised many issues for their life. Important of social service support, important of political official engagement, important of private sector in their life, to change their life to be like today. So during that time, one of the high excellency of human trafficking, she committed that all CSO partner in Cambodia, you had to consider that to work as the collaboration closely with survival leadership program. So the most important thing is that we open a space for the survivors, not only give the chance or bring them to discuss or special dialogue, but publicly engage them to share what they want to share with all those people around them. The most important thing, and later on in this first quarter of 2023, our government decided to change some policies, adjust some policy, more benefit to the survivors. That is one of the points that I can share with you for practical experience, engagement survivor directly to the people around them. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I also have not really a question, but also a question. But maybe you guys don't want to answer it. Firstly, Mina, just to let you know, Blue Dragon's been hiring former beneficiaries for many years, up to the point where our co-CEO is now a former beneficiary. Our now co-CEO was a beneficiary. And we had to develop a policy and some guidelines and have some discussions about how to do that. So we'd be really happy to share our experiences with that. That goes for anyone else who's interested as well. Secondly, I'm really interested in us also having, we've mainly been talking about some brave conversations that we need to have within our sector, and I think that's really great. And it's fantastic to hear all of your suggestions and comments. I think we also need to have some more brave conversations, as Kamal said, with the public about the real causes of human trafficking. So we talk about poverty being a cause, but what is the cause of poverty? And why is bonded labour an issue? Why is slavery an issue in companies? Because consumers are used to having $2 t-shirts, right? And I think we really need to start finding ways to have those really brave conversations with the general public, with our supporters, with our donors, and not beating around the bush that, this is just a few bad people doing bad things and hiring slaves. This is baked into our system, And until we start addressing that, then we're not going to actually address the real causes of human trafficking, and we're not going to solve it. So I'd love to hear, I guess the question part is, I would love to hear any experiences of people or of organisations doing that and having those conversations and how, because of course, we don't want to blame people, we don't want to tell people that, their lifestyle has to change or whatever. I mean, it does, but what I'm interested in is what are the ways that we have these conversations so that people listen and people are able to do something about it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Just as a plug, as a bit of an answer, so Walk Free just released the Global Slavery Index, and they have an extensive section in there about the sectors that most people who are in situations of slavery are working in. And so it's, as we all know, it's garments, it's technology, it's the microchips in our phones, it's the clothes that we wear. And I think that has been a helpful resource for me for talking to our supporters and talking to our community about treading that line between recognizing that most likely within this room, multiple of us are using, wearing, eating things that have been produced by folks that are living in slavery, and also providing an opportunity for people to have alternative products, right? So freedom businesses, I think, are more and more producing products that are palatable to the wider community. And I think we can be more intentional, not only about what we buy, but how much we buy, right? How much we actually consume. So that's just one resource that I have found helpful that I thought I could share. But anybody else want to share? Yeah.
So one awareness that our government came up to reach out to the public is, so February 9th, 1976 was the Bonded Labor System Abolition Act was passed, almost 40 years back. And almost 40 years back. And February 9th, what our government is, especially our state government did is, so they declared February 9th as an anti-bonded labor day. So our state government declared it, and what they did is, every government office in Tamil Nadu, especially in our state, so they have to gather together 8 o'clock in the morning on the Feb 9th, and they have to take a pledge that I will fight against bonded labor. So this was something that our Tamil Nadu government came up with on every year. So it has been 4 years. Our state government started to do. So February 9th, they gather, even if it is a public holiday, the government officials gathered in their office. So they will take a pledge and they will say, we will eradicate bonded labor in our departments. If we ever come across, we will do our best in our department to eradicate in any places that we can. So what happens is, so since Tamil Nadu government is doing it, so other states like Kerala, Andhra, Karnataka and other states in North India, they started to pick up. And everybody are declaring right now, so there are now 12 states out of 36 states, now 12 states are declared February 9th as a bonded labor day, and it is a government day. So they are doing it, and it is going to the general public right now, also the officials right now. So something like that.
I want to add, in Nepal, even for me as a public from Nepal, we used to hear about anti-trafficking, girls being trafficked to India. That was only, the sentence like, oh, this happened, that happened. That was the conversation. And when I worked for like 7 years and I returned to Nepal, and then I tell them like what has been happening. But still, if we go on a public, they are still not aware of actually what is this, and they have no idea that the just 5 hours far from capital city, there are like 5 main red zone districts which are considered as the main trafficking, like a source area. But even that distance is just 5 hours. But if you actually ask the public in Kathmandu, not everyone are aware of that, and which is sad. But when I think she asked about if someone is working on the awareing public, like, so they, I know some groups She used to work in Kolkata. She was involved in rescue, and but now she felt that we are working on when girls are trafficked here. We are helping them to return and rescue. But the main route area where these are happening, where it's continuous, they are coming. So what they are doing is like they are visiting villages, and they are awareing them like from their part what they can do, so that not every time NGO needs to go there and just like do everything, but the public themselves as an individual can be aware that they can think best for their village, that what steps then they can do from their side, so that the things has been started. It will take some times to spread around. It will take, but I think the positive thing, like, it has been started now. But the concept of awareing and the public needs to know what is happening around them, it's so important, because we all are here for so many years and we are still, and I know we have a vision to do it more, but if we actually go to the public and individual, then I think it can make a bigger impact and can, the things that we want to do, I think, yeah.
Sorry, I was reflecting on a question. I think it's really great. And then honestly, I realized, I don't know if you also share this thinking, but then I realized when I talk to my friends, I rarely talk about my work. Maybe just because it's a bit heavy. So like I shared about the presentation here about scamming compound, but most of my friends, they may not actually even know that much about this thing. And so I don't know if it's a general common situation. Maybe one of the things we can do is even starting from our circle. The other thing also in Taiwan, like for example, last year the whole scamming compound thing, when it comes out, one of the main reasons that it becomes known is because some YouTubers start talking about it, and they're not even counter trafficking YouTubers. They're just random YouTubers talk about jokes and whatever things, and they have lots of followers, and they start talking about it. So the channel is very, very different. Yes. And so I realize I feel it's maybe important to reflect the channel. Like I understand, for example, most of the reports out there, nobody will actually read it, even when it's very short. But nowadays, people receive information from different places. Maybe we need to be more creative in that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mina. That's a good reminder. Also to talk to my friends more, because it's a downer at a dinner conversation, so you kind of don't want to bring it up. Do we have more questions? We have 3 more minutes.
I have a...
Go ahead.
Something, well, just to share, actually.
Yep.
I think what you mentioned about sharing resources is really important. And it's a plug, I guess. The Freedom Fund yesterday have just launched Funding the Front Lines, which is a website which is basically to share, similar to what you were talking about, of policies, best practices. Partly it's donor education, but it's also just sharing what we've learned in how to fund frontline organizations, employing survivors, all these kind of things that is a resource for everyone to share. So I can maybe send the link on the app, and that can be available to everyone. And the second point was just to share, Mina, on your point about involving and including survivors in research. I think this is something that has actually been done successfully in many examples. It's not easy, as you say, but it's definitely possible. And we also recently had, in partnership with GFEMS, the Freedom Fund had an equity in evidence seminar, which was just a few weeks ago, and that was bringing together survivors with lived experience, researchers talking about how they infuse those two together, and again, many lessons and best practices there, so I'd be happy to share that with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Quick, yes?
Yes, this is Ganesh. Bundled labor and poverty and all these things, the source of trafficking, The trafficking and this system, it is the question of, structural question, no? Therefore, can we discuss on how we can change the structural system in our country, in our region. Can we link the survivor leader with political process? It is the idea of that. I think so. Your idea.
Yeah.
Can you say?
Yeah, definitely. I think that requires a lot of time for us to discuss as a nation. And what are the best practices that is back home, and what helps us to eradicate or trying to eradicate bonded labor, and what are the, in our country, February 9th is the bonded labor system the act was passed. So if I can understand, when does Nepal have a bonded labor system abolition act or something like that? What are the loopholes? What are the things that we can discuss? If some Nepal survivors, I heard from one of the Freedom Fund team that from Nepal, the children were trafficked to India as a bonded laborer. And so I was just curious how our bonded labor abolition act will apply on the foreigner, because it is so specialized for the Indians. The Bonded Labor System Abolition Act is so specialized for Indians. So I'm still curious about how it affects if any foreign nationals come as a bonded laborer back home. So maybe we can discuss over a lunch, and I would love to learn from you as well, and some of the things that we can share knowledge. Thank you, sir.
I think we'll close here because I can see the sign, and we'll all continue the conversations over lunch. Thank you so much, everyone, and thank you also for your questions.